Koe o materu, soha hio e jatse, anyo nye ai tarai. Ne dero me de huandat a jatu tan. Ne a quatras a yomen de a koyehti. Ne Wyandotte, Oklahoma. And Dare. Now I just introduced myself in the Wyandotte language. I say kwe, and I can also say awaka shuta, which means I show you my face. And we're greeting you. My traditional name is Sohahio. My regular name, Richard Zane Smith. And I'm the Bear Clan from Wyandotte, Oklahoma, from the eastern part of Oklahoma. So I'm just glad everyone's here, and I hope you guys are going to be interested in this today. My part on this, in this whole process, is going to be firing. So we're going to do traditional firing, and we're going to have a lot of film footage of a firing going on. And so hopefully you'll learn how to do that, and I can save a lot of pain and suffering, because sometimes things just go wrong in firings outside, and I've been doing this for quite a while. So this is obviously sponsored by the Natural Clay Pottery Course that the Museum of Ontario Archaeology is putting on. I just want that to be clear in there. So one of the first things we want to do is talk about materials, what we'll need. For an open firing, there's simple things that you need. You need some tools. You need a rake, a shovel. Some tongs are nice to have. It's nice to have some heavy mitts to pick up hot things with. You can use welder's mitts. You can use a little bit of that KO wool, which really is handy now these days. Or if you really want to go strictly traditional, you can tip pots over and use a stick and reach in there and take them out if you have to. So, but we're gonna start with the very basic stuff. The ground has to be really dry. This is so important. If the ground has got moisture in it and you build a fire in it and you put pots around that fire to dry, that moisture is going to be sucked up inside the pot. It's just going to draw it up like a sponge, and that moisture will settle in your pot, and once you put it in the fire, it's going to pop. There'll be a little pop. Even a very thin pot that you make that'll happen too. So it's important. If the ground is just a little moist, there's a little bit of moisture, even if you've got a fire going all day or for hours, you can set them in bowls. You can set your pots in bowls as you're drying them out. All these things will be illustrated, and we'll show along the way. I kind of just wanted to give a review. So the first thing I do, well, you just have to set aside a day. This is for firing. You got to set aside a day, and it's got to be a day that you're pretty sure it's not going to get windy. You want an evening that's just perfectly calm, where the smoke just rises straight up, and it's like the most wonderful experience when you fire like this, and it's really beautiful. So so you give yourself a day. About noon, I usually get a fire started, and then and that's mainly to dry the ground if there's any moisture, and also to start bringing out the pots. Now, if there's a little bit of moisture in the ground, I'll wait until there's a big fire going on. And the first fire that you build is pretty good size, because you just want it to go down to coals. And you want to dry your pots. So it's important to put your pots in a bowl or on sherds or something if the ground has any moisture in it. If the ground is really dry, you can set them right on the earth. It's fine. And you just rotate them, and I'll do this all day. So it's a very slow process. You're just cutting wood, splitting it if you have to at that time, and adding wood, and just enjoying the day, and turning pots. And maybe I do a little overkill by doing it so long, but I get better results this way. I don't lose pots. There are very few that we lose, so this is important. The other thing that I should mention right away too is the clay mix, the mixture of timber and clay. It should be at least 30% temper for an outdoor firing. So whether it's crushed granite, whether it's shell, a mussel shell, or whether it's flint, crushed flint, or even kyanite, which works great for these outdoor firings. So in our traditional firings, we'll use crushed granite a lot because it's something our ancestors used up there in the homelands, up there in Ontario, where you guys are actually digging clay often. So, okay, so we got the ground prepared, we got a fire going. I usually do a traditional firing, or a traditional starting of the firing, either with a bow, or I use a flint and steel. And the flint and steel is a lot easier, it's faster, often, unless somebody's inexperienced. But usually if I have students and their pot's in there, I have them start the fire. So they can pick which way they want to do it. But I like to do it that way. I like to do that without matches. So it's just part of the whole process. So we've got a fire going all day. And about when it's just approaching sundown, we're getting the pots closer and closer to the fire. We're turning them more often. The pots are actually starting to change color. And once it's sundown, we start thumping those pots with a fingernail. And if they ring, and they will ring, they're ready. It's going to have its own tone like a bell's. Then we take the pots away from where they're sitting around the fire, set them off to the side a little bit in the grass or on the ground, and then I take a rake and I just rake those coals out. Rake them out into a big circle. Pull those coals out. So the burning pieces of wood are around the outside edge, and the coals, the hottest coals, are in the middle. And then I put slabs of clay over those coals. And these are slabs that I made now. I mean, if you break a lot of pots and you have lots of sherds, you can use sherds, you know, obviously. But I sure don't like breaking pots, so I don't have a lot of sherds laying. I don't have a sherd pile really, so I had to make some slabs out of clay and mix it with sawdust. So, and that worked great. Works really good. So I'll lay those out, and I've kind of got them cut like pizza shapes, you know. So I make a slab, roll it out, slice it up, fire them, and then, you know, so these are just kind of put on the coals. And it's hot, so this is where you need to cover your face really well. I use just a cloth bandana. I do have glasses, and I pull my hat down really far down so I can just see through there. And then I have a sweatshirt on, and a sweatshirt and those heavy welder's gloves. And then, so I'm reaching in and I'm taking the pots off the side, and I turn them upside down and put them on those pieces of clay right over the coals. And so this process itself, this lasts for up to an hour or so. You just kind of put those pots there, let them sit there, and you keep a fire going around the ring around it. So the flames are not touching the pots. So you just have like a ring of fire. And this would be a good time to have that Johnny Cash song, singing the Ring of Fire. Yeah. So yeah, we're all joking and having a good time doing this, you know, because I don't know why it is. We start laughing our heads off about the Ring of Fire. But that ring of fire around the pots, that's going to slowly move in closer and closer and closer till that wood is actually touching the pots. And once the wood is actually touching the pots, that's when we just start laying all the wood in. And one of the things I've been doing that works pretty well is put bark over the pots first, just some flat bark. it helps because it's light, it's lightweight, and if somebody gets a little careless by dropping wood, it's not going to pop a hole in one of the pots. So that's something I do. And the wood has to be split fairly thin. So you want a nice burst of heat. You don't want big logs in there that are take forever to burn and leave lots of coals or lots of charcoal in that. So you want it to be a fast fire. So if there's a pot in there, or 2 pots or 3 pots that have the shell temper, the mussel shell temper, those are the ones you keep an eye on, because as soon as they're glowing, and I mean as soon as they're glowing, and by now it's dark, and the night's, you know, the sun's down, so it's getting dark. As soon as they're glowing, you pull them out. And that's tricky. It's tricky, but there's a simple way of doing it, which is basically reaching in with a stick, poking away the coals, and just flipping it out, letting it roll out. It's like a big orange ball, but it's just red hot. And or what I do is I'll use that kale wool and the welder's gloves, and I'll actually put a face shield on, a welder's flip, you know, a little helmet thing there, so I can pop it down over my face, a mask, pick it up, and just set it down. If you want a black interior for your pots, you can put a pile of pine needles down, or something like a sawdust or something, and then just put that pot right over the sawdust or the pine needles, and it'll burst into flames. But if you got plenty of temper in the clay, it's going to be fine. You know, no worries. So then, basically, once you do the shell tempered pottery and it's out of the way, then you can stoke the rest of the pots up with wood and just keep it burning for an hour or 2 until you're just tired of firing. Basically, that's what I do. It's like, I'm running low on wood, I think I'll just stop. I'm tired. And you know, they've been glowing. You make sure they're glowing really good. As far as temperatures, I really don't know. I don't know. I haven't really checked. We did have somebody here with one of those little temperature things you can shine in and see what the temperature and any points are. But it was all varied. You know, it was like if you hit a hot spot, it would show one thing, and if you hit it charcoal, it would show something else. So yeah, but this is just the simple way of firing. One thing you can do too, you can leave them overnight. You can let them sit overnight if you want. But I tend to want to see what they're going to look like. And I do like black interiors on the pots. So I'll, even these pots that don't have the shell temper, I might roll one out with a stick and then pick it up and set it on pine needles, you know, upside down. And it just, if it's glowing, at least on that rim, those pine needles will ignite, and the smoke inside will just turn it a beautiful black, especially if you've got a good burnish on the inside. So, and that's about it. When the firing's over, we bring them in, wash them off with water, and if you're going to use them for cooking, this is a good time to put some grease on the inside. So if you have vegetable oil, or if you have bear grease, it's even better. Just put bear grease in and rub it in real good while it's hot, while the pot's still warm, and it's ready to go. It's ready to be cooked with. And that would be a whole nother lesson, I guess, to do the cooking show. But this is basically it. There's probably, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but hopefully what we show in the film is going to give a lot of answers to some of those questions too. So, si jamais, thank you.
Hoyo, 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 weha, 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 Hanaway, 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 Ho-yo, 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 way-ha, 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 Hanaway, 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 Hanayo, 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 Hahe, 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 whee!
Ross put it on my side.
Sure it leans in good.
Is it okay to put them over here?
Just be careful because they can roll.
That sounds like a no to me.
You don't want it to roll on you.
I sure don't want it to roll.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
can
right
get
now.
closer.
That looks pretty safe.
Okay. Wow. Boy, that one's really turning brown.
Yeah,
Yours. This one, I don't even know what color that is now. Gray?
not, isn't it? Yeah, it sure has changed.
Oh, he's sounding good.
Almost sounds fired.
Doesn't it, though? As thin as it is, it might be.
Really, that's just about the way they'll sound on the
Mhm.
fire. They're not going to, sound's not going to change much. Yeah, okay, so once this all burns down to coals, then we'll kind of pull everything out, the fire out to the corner, out to the sides, as far away as we can, and then we'll start laying these on the coals. How yeah, we yeah, 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 how yeah, how yeah, how yeah, we yeah, how yeah, we yeah, how yeah, we yeah, how yeah, we yeah, how yeah, how yeah. Hoki
quata ye aha, we hiya wee. Kahi quata ye aha, we hiya wee. We hiya wee, we hiya wee. We hiya wee, we hiya wee. Sayore ware shondi, we hiya wee. Somindi shudi kyonti, we hiya wee. Sayore ware shondi, we hiya wee. Somindi shudi kyonti, we hiya wee. We hiya wee, we hiya wee. We hiya wee, we hiya wee. Kahi quata ye aha, we hiya wee. Kahi quata ye aha, we hiya wee. We hiya wee, we hiya wee. We hiya wee, we hiya wee. Yo! Ha you want it, hoo ha ya, 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 ha you want it, hoo ha ya. Ha you want it, hoo ha ya, 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 ha you want it, hoo ha ya. Ha you want it, hoo ha ya, ha you want it, hoo ha ya, ha you want it, hoo ha ya. Yo. Ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho you ya no wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho you ya no wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho you ya no wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho you ya no wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee ho ha you, wee yo. Nya wee wet and I hate, 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 nya wee hi-yo, hi-yo, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee hi-yo, hi-yo, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee hi-yo, hi-yo, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee hi-yo, hi-yo, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee wet and I hate, nya wee hi-yo. Yo kuyane, yoe 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 kuyoha, yohane, yoe kuyane, 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 yoe kuyoha, yoha, yohane, yoe kuyane, yoe kuyane, yoe kuyane.